Are you ready to become a god? In 3D, you are a sinful little being. In 5D, you are an infinite, all-powerful deity. Question your reality and then change it. ThunderWizard.com is the website that supports this YouTube channel. Please go check out all of the ways that you can subscribe and get powerful teachings and practices. Go to the shop and you'll see videos and courses that are available to you. To see my books, go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. So, are you ready for this transformation? Are you ready to become a god in 5D? We are going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be sharing with you things that I've learned and attitudes that I am striving for as we are getting hit once again with a huge solar storm. So as I'm recording this video, it's Friday, October 4th at almost 4 p.m. Eastern time. And when I woke up this morning, everything felt pretty normal. And then a few hours later, I could feel the energy coming. And so I'm absolutely feeling the symptoms of solar radiation hitting the earth. And so some basic symptoms that you might experience: anxiety. You might feel like your heart's beating fast. You might feel like you have to keep, taking a breath and sighing. Your brain might start going into looking for problems. You might start getting angry, or you might get sad. You might have a lot of emotions come up. I've been very emotional today, thinking about things that I want, experiences that I'd like to have, thinking about shifting to 5D. So I've been vacillating with all these different kinds of intense emotions. And so that lets me know that we are in a very powerful solar storm. I haven't had any communications today from higher dimensional beings, but I believe that they will be coming later. This, by the way, is the best time. Whenever you're in a solar storm, that is the best time to meditate, the best time to do interdimensional meditation, the best time to travel to your 5D world, focusing on those 5D things that you fantasized about, that give you joy, that give you peace. Whatever your absolutely outrageous, fantastical fantasies are, these are the times to indulge in them, because the solar radiation actually creates a window, it creates a portal to higher dimensions. This is why you're able to communicate with ETs at this time, communicate with light beings, higher self. This is the time to do that. The thing not to do is to fight the energy. Don't indulge in the anxiety. Know that the anxiety is a combination of your nervous system responding to the higher radiation that's hitting you, combined with your third dimensional mind doesn't want to shift up because it feels like it's out of control. So it starts putting into your brain all kinds of things for you to worry about. Now, if you have unresolved pain, those things have to come to the surface. So also not fighting those. Again, this is the 12 steps to 5D on my channel. If you have a teacher, talk with them, interdimensional meditation. But just expect that there's going to be some perhaps uncomfortable symptoms. For some people, if they don't have a lot of internal resistance, then you will feel very high. You will feel a lot of kundalini in your body. DMT will be released into your brain. So this is just the beginning. I know that for the next 3, perhaps even more days, it looks like, from what I've been looking at, the solar storms might be lasting for 4 or 5 days at least. And that's assuming that there isn't other things that happen during this time.
So there might be other storms that erupt between now and then. So in fact, I have a feeling that something is going to happen. And we've talked about that in previous videos about the solar flash. All right, so I am going to be sharing with you some fantastical truths about the universe. And what I want in this is I want to prepare you for how to start thinking about 5D, how to also think in ways opposite from what you've been told. So what's going to happen in this new reality is everything is going to get flipped on its head. Everything. Especially how you view yourself and how you view your connection to spirit, to the universe, to God, however you want to look at it. That is going to be completely flipped on its head. So as in the thumbnail, in 3D you are a sinful little being, and in 5D you are an infinite, all-powerful deity. So the most difficult aspect of my interaction with higher dimensional beings initially was that from the get-go, from the first communications with higher dimensional beings, they started telling me that I was a deity. They didn't use those words. They talked about it in much different, flowery kinds of words and experiences, but the message was, you are a deity. You are the one who created this world. You created God. You know, these kinds of absolutely outlandish statements that go 100% opposite what we've been taught, as well as how we function within this three-dimensional video game. Again, go look at Donald Hoffman's work, Hoffman. Go look for him on YouTube. He's all over the place. This is a mathematician, scientist who mathematically proved that our three-dimensional space-time experience is nothing more than an illusion. It's a video game. There's nothing real about it. And that we are merely consciousness that is dreaming this reality. And that 3D space-time is nothing more than the equivalent of a computer program. So in this particular 3D space-time program, you are programmed to experience yourself as this small, little, powerless being in this huge universe that has all this power over you. And it's an illusion. So what's going to happen with this shift when we go to higher frequencies is that we will tap into the complete opposite. There is no giant God out there with a big beard, with his arms crossed, telling you what to do, judging you. Or, you know, another way that people look at it, they just want to know what God's will for them is. They want to know what God's destiny, very passive. They want something to happen to them. This is even the case with the law of attraction. The law of attraction starts from a passive place of assumption of weakness, that you have to attract to you what you want. And it's based on how you feel. If you don't have the correct feelings and emotions, the thing you want, which exists out there somewhere, won't be attracted to you. And that's not how it works. This reality is literally created based on your intent, based on, if you're not actively intending your highest reality, if you're not actively doing that, then it is created based on whatever beliefs and thoughts that you have running inside of you. So this is why people say things like, you know, no matter how hard they try, they can't make money. Well, they may have the conscious idea of wanting to make money, but on an unconscious level, they have this belief that, you know, money is out there somewhere and success is out there, health is out there, and it has to come to them. And they don't understand that they create it.
Now, the caveat is, this is where the law of attraction fails. The law of attraction sort of assumes that there's this independent object floating around out there that will come to you, and that once you have that, then you'll be happy. And the reality is completely the opposite, that what you have within you is what will bring you happiness. So what people in the law of attraction do is they will try and intend things they think will make them happy. A new car, a big house, money, whatever it is. These external things. Now they think those things will bring them happiness because they've been trained in this reality and in this society to believe that. But what ends up happening is when they intend that, they're really coming from a place of weakness, which says they won't be happy unless they get that stuff. And so then they end up not accomplishing a lot, or having mixed results. Whereas if you focus on what makes you happy, forget about it. I mean, like if being on a boat in the Mediterranean, by itself, literally makes you happy, not the thought of having a boat and being rich and look at me, I'm in the Mediterranean on a boat. That's not going to work, because that's coming from needing to be loved and accepted and getting approval and having power over others. That's not going to work. But if the thought of the beautiful Mediterranean and being on a boat and being in the sun and the ocean, if that brings joy to you, and you go, oh my God, I need to be on a boat on the Mediterranean, then you focus on that and you create that, and the universe goes, oh, that's where this person needs to be, because you're God. And God always gets what he asks for. God commands and the universe responds. You're God from a higher perspective. That's the truth. So you have to focus on what gives you joy, not what is going to make you safe. The idea of money is about feeling safe. If you need money to feel safe, it means that you're insecure. Look at the billionaires. Look at the billionaires. Look at the Bill Gates and the George Soros and the Bezos. They have far more money than they can ever spend, and yet they are obsessed with getting more. It's never enough. So obviously, money doesn't make you happy. It doesn't give you joy. It doesn't give you security. It doesn't protect you. It doesn't do anything for you. Because those same people also oftentimes get very physically ill, and no amount of money can cure them. So you have to focus on what you love, what you truly love, and many people don't know what that is. So this is why we're, doing the stuff that we do on our channel. Anyway, I'm starting to talk myself into a corner here, so let's just get to the stuff here. All right, so fantastical truths about the universe. Your 3D identity is only a virtual reality probability avatar. You are God. So we've talked about you are God, but let me talk briefly again about probability. I wrote about it in my book, Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth. And this was the first thing that was told to me in a major interaction with my friend here. He showed up and huge amount of energy hit me, and the telepathic message was, you are a probability. And what that means is exactly what quantum physics teaches, which is that what we just talked about, reality doesn't exist. Reality is just like a video game. The reality that's around you is rendered. A video game, has whoever wrote the video game programmed an entire city full of people and places and events, but the video game will only render as much of the game around your avatar as your avatar can see and experience. It doesn't render the other side of the city. You have to travel in your car, and as you're traveling in your video game car, it's rendering those parts of the city. So the parts of the city are an idea, that don't exist until you drive to it, and then it's rendered for your experience. This virtual reality that we live in is exactly the same. It is no different. It is simply rendered based on your attention onto it. The moment you stop looking at it, it literally disappears. So your life is a probability. You know, we think of these timelines. It helps people. It's okay if you think that way, but that's not how it works. It's not like there's one timeline that goes here and then there's another one right next to it, and what you have to do is like jump from one track to another, or switch, buses at the bus stop and get on another timeline. That's not how it works. What ends up happening is that wherever you are, you have all of these probabilities of what can happen. You're happy, you're sad, you're healthy, you're ill, you're, whatever it is. These are all probable realities that can be manifest based on your intentions, your feelings, your assumptions, your beliefs, and very importantly, your actions, because your actions will be based on your assumptions and your beliefs. So those things tell the program what to manifest from a list. It'll have a list of a bunch of different things. Like a video game. You answer a specific question, you go into a different, outcome of the video game. It's an interactive video game. It'll change based on how you interact with it. So you are a probability. That is very important. And when you understand that you are God, then you understand that you control the probability that is manifest in front of you. This is challenging to accept because as you're sitting, listening, you're aware that you are limited. You got hunger, you got thirst, you get tired, you get cold, you get hot, whatever it is. I'm not able to talk you out of that experience. Nevertheless, I can tell you that it is absolutely the truth. The things that we've been doing in these live guided meditations prove that. When we do the live guided meditations, we are going out of the 3D space-time video game and we are reprogramming the entire program of the game itself. And we are in fact bringing the new earth because of those meditations. I'm convinced of that. So you are God and you live in a virtual reality probability state. You can change your reality based on things we talked about. So there is no being more powerful than you, period. So there is no God out there more powerful than you. Doesn't mean that you can't worship one or interact with one, because ultimately even that deity, no matter how powerful, is an emanation of you. Because if you follow your essence, your soul, if you follow it all the way back to its source, you will find God and you will find yourself there. You also will find everybody else there. And so you go even deeper than that and you realize that you are everybody else. That all beings, when you're driving around in your car and all the other people driving around, walking on the street, you can tell yourself all of those people are just simply avatars that I've sent. So to be harmful to them is to be harmful to you. So that's why people in higher dimensions don't ever do anything hurtful to you. It's impossible. So drop any of those beliefs. I was just going through, as YouTube shows up and I scroll through, and what's his name? David Icke shows up, and the title is "They Came from the Fourth Dimension," and he's talking about the, obviously the reptilian elites that are, controlling your life. So the assumption is that beings from a higher dimension have this desire to feed off of you. Now, without judging him, I already know he's never experienced anything in a higher dimension. I already know that, because once you've gone higher than the third dimension, even when you go into higher frequencies of the third dimension, you know that it is impossible for anybody in those frequencies
to wish harm on anybody else, or to even have this idea that they need to feed off of others. The only beings that talk like that are third dimensional or below. So drop any of those beliefs. Any belief that says that there's any being out there in a higher place, more powerful than you, especially that can cause you harm, you can literally reject every single thing that they say because they don't know what they're talking about. Hopefully they will. All Mahavatars, Buddhas, Ascended Masters, Messiahs are just like you. So this was very challenging for me when, again, this being showed up and he said, you're a probability. And then we had a discussion about that, and he was able to really help me understand what that meant and the power of it. Because my first response was to minimize it with, just, New Age, general quotes like, yes, we are all God and anything is possible. And I responded with these, and he kept on repeating very patiently. He kept on repeating, you are a probability. You are a probability. He kept on repeating it. And then I started going, okay, so I have to listen to what he's saying. And then as I listened to it and I listened to the energy behind it, I started getting a different picture. Then he showed up. I don't know if it was him or somebody else, but another powerful being showed up right around that time. Could have been the next day. I don't remember. And this being said, what do you want? And the feeling behind it was that this being was a genie and it was going to give me anything that I could possibly wish. So I said, hang on, let me think about it. And I came up with a fantasy of what I wanted. And he says, and I said, okay. And I verbalized. He said, good. And he said, good. Now imagine it. Create a reality like a ball in front of you, create it inside of a reality. So I did that. And he says, okay, now go inside of it. So then I went inside of it, that reality, and walked around. He says, okay, now you're going to have it. And it turns out I did. I ended up living that reality for a year and a half. And it was exactly, some of the details were a little bit different, but it was almost exactly the way that I had imagined it. And so there again, this is how powerful you are. You have the ability to choose exactly what your reality is. Now, I believe that was getting me ready for this new reality that's going to be, this new program, this new virtual reality that's going to hit Earth. We call it 5D. Could be coming in the next couple of days. We'll find out. I'm going to keep communicating with you guys. I'll upload videos as long as we're still here in 3D. So until that, if I stop, you have an idea of at least one possibility of what happened to me. All right, so Buddhas, Ascended Masters, Messiahs are just like you. So this was another thing. This being started telling me that I was Shiva. And I responded again the same way, in a very new agey way. I said, yes, we are all Shiva, we are all God. And this being kept on saying, you don't understand. You are Shiva. Kept on repeating that. And then it would say other things like, you are the Messiah. You are God. You are, no matter what I would say, it'd say, that is you. You are that. And then they started telling me that I was going to be king of Earth, and that I'd already been king of Earth, and that just was too much. I couldn't tolerate that. That just bounced off of my head. It was just too much. And they kept on talking this way about being a deity, being God, being, all of this. By the way, just to let you know, when they asked me, what is it that you want? My first response, which really shocked me, with a tremendous amount of emotion, my first response when they said, what is it that you want? I said, I want to save the world. And so what ended up happening, we started, later on, we started doing these live guided meditations where we do what? we go out and we send energy and we change the world. So it really is that literal, that you can have what you truly want. Now, the caveat again is it has to come from your soul. If it comes from your intellect or your fears, that's not real. It's not an authentic desire to you. So only your authentic desires will be manifest in the new reality. In 3D, you can manifest your fears and things like that. But that, again, was part of the experiment so that you would learn the difference. Anyway, let's keep going. So all of them, the Buddhas, the Ascended Masters, the Messiahs, they are just like you. I'm trying to get this point out. So this whole nonsense, like, Jesus, by the way, I'm sorry to tell you, Jesus never existed. I've got videos to prove that. It was a fictional character made up in order to first pacify the Jews and get them to pay their taxes, literally. That's what Jesus, that's the meaning behind Jesus' famous phrase, give unto God what is God's, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. It was a way of telling the Jews to pay their taxes to the Romans. So that being didn't exist, but the idealized version of him, that he walked on water. Now that's not a big deal, but the term walk on water has come to mean somebody who has no faults. They have no sins. They have nothing human about them. They are above it all. They have no desires. People talk that way about Buddha, and people think that if they achieve enlightenment, that's what's they'll be free of any of their human desires. This is actually running away from your emotions and your feelings. These are people who are seeking to become zombies. They are in a tremendous amount of pain and fear, anxiety, and they want to be free of those negative emotions. So they think and they idealize that spiritual people have no feelings. They just walk around, and that's why Jesus was so popular, because people would worship this guy who didn't have any desires or any feelings. And of course, he was tremendously codependent. He only did what his abusive father told him to do, and his abusive father ended up literally abusing, torturing, and killing him for what other people did. I mean, it's incredibly destructive, extremely toxic, religion. So, but that's why people like it, because they don't want to feel pain, so they imagine themselves like Jesus. However, the truth is that these beings have existed. There have been people on planet Earth that have been Mahavatars, that have been, various aspects of Vishnu. Like Buddha was an actual Mahavatar, but he was extremely human. And unlike many of the versions of the Buddha that you've heard about in later versions of Buddhism, he was very human, he ate meat, and he died of illnesses. But what he taught was brilliant. He really was this avatar of Vishnu. And so there's been many of them that have lived here on Earth. And I'm here to tell you that I am one of those, and so are you. And the great thing about the Vedic mythology is that you find out that these beings were just as human as you and I are. Now, I came to find out not from anything that came outside of me, but because I was talking with a very powerful deity, and I've talked about it before, who gave me clues telling me, here, you were the first king of Earth. And by researching those clues, I came to find out that they were talking about a mythological person in the Vedic mythology called Pururavas. And he was very human. Now, one of his, I believe one of his offspring, one of his direct offspring was Vishvamitra. Now, Vishvamitra is a Brahma Rishi. Now, a Rishi means somebody who has achieved a level of, quote, enlightenment, where they see the truth of reality. They see mantras. So, for instance, the most famous mantra that has been chanted more than any other mantra in history is the Gayatri mantra. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dimahi Diyo Yonach Prachodayat. It's a mantra that is chanted to the sun. And this is part of one of the Vedas. It's been taken out and people have chanted it, more times than anybody, over thousands of years, more times than any other mantra. So when we talk about Vishvamitra, the Brahma Rishi, which means the highest level of Rishi, Brahma means creator. It's, he's gone through all of these various stages of being a Rishi. Now he's gotten to the level of Brahma Rishi. And until you look at his life, you find out that he was extremely human. He started off as a king, and he was very abusive and murderous. He murdered lots of people, and he was very abusive and very selfish, and he was very toxic individual, an absolute sinner. But he then went and did penance. He did meditation for a very long time, and he became extremely powerful. He became so powerful that he started creating his own reality. There was somebody that came to him, I don't remember the exact scenario, but somebody came to him and wanted to go to heaven. And I can't remember the reason why he couldn't do it. So Vishvamitra decided to literally just meditate and create an entire heaven for this guy. And he was on the verge of creating an entire heaven. And Indra came and stopped him. So the point is, this is how powerful this guy was. Now, this guy was actually breaking some kind of rule by doing this, which is why Indra came and stopped him. And so here again, we see his limitation. He was already this powerful rishi, so powerful that he had the ability to create an entire universe. Because somebody had asked him, and he, in his pride, said, "I'll give it to you." And when he found out he couldn't do it, he then decided he was going to do it himself. He was very stubborn. Again, we're looking at a selfish, imperfect human being who still was able to become the highest level sage in Vedic mythology. And he's just one of many. You are one of those beings. I came to find out that my original, I don't know if it was my first life on Earth, but when I was the ruler of very ancient Earth 13,000 years ago, that was very common, that there were beings that were demigods, there were, and that just the average human had access to their higher level selves. And they could accomplish all kinds of things. Again, the things that we've been doing in our live guided meditations are as fantastical as anything you've read. We are changing. We have changed reality. This solar flash, if it's coming in the next couple of days, we brought it. That's how powerful you are. And this will be the new reality for humans. Everybody will realize this about themselves. So the main obstacle of 3D incarnation is to overcome your self-devaluation. Self-devaluation is a great word, to devalue. This is what happens when you're being abused by somebody who's narcissistically abusing you. They are devaluing you. They're saying that you don't have value. Your value is based transactionally. Your value is based on what you do. So one of the things that's going to happen, it's already starting to happen, but one of the things that's going to happen is that the idea of celebrity is going to be destroyed. Celebrities have a lot of power, and people worship celebrities, and it's now coming out. The whole, what's interesting is that the celebrity class, actors, musicians, are almost uniformly coming out in favor of the establishment, in favor of censorship, in favor of forcing things on you.
controlling your speech, controlling your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. And that goes against anything that, creative people, instinctively are in the opposite direction. That's why up until now, people who were artists were treated like vermin. In fact, one of the worst things you could say about somebody back in the Middle Ages was to call them an actor or a musician. And that's because that was put upon them by the elites, because the elites know that actors, musicians, writers, singers, storytellers, they have the ability to get into people's mind, and if you start putting ideas in there about having your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own opinions, that is very damaging. So, that's why those were the lowest class of people. Same thing with like even the gypsies, the Romani. The gypsies were people in India originally who were the lowest class. They were dancers and musicians, entertainers. And so because of the rise of Islam there, they were pushed out of that and they came to Europe. But they still were this lower class of people that traveled around, and what did they do? They were known for fortune telling, belly dancing, singing, being an entertainer. So, now we've got things flipped where the entertainers who normally represent alternative thinking and revolutionary ways of thinking are now they are mouthpieces for the establishment. That's all going to come crashing down. We're going to see that. We're going to see celebrity come crashing down. We're going to see a lot of things come crashing down. All right, so self-devaluation, I got off topic there, but self-devaluation is anything that, this is why I repeat lots of times, the only thing you're required to do is to exist. And that the only thing that you need do to be loved is to exist. In fact, there is literally nothing you can do that will make you more valuable, more lovable to the universe than you are right now. So the only thing you can do is devalue yourself. And that is what we do in the third dimension. When you come from fear, when you think you need money, you need love, you need to be accepted, you're not good enough, you have internal self-devaluation. And this is the main obstacle in the third dimensional reality, which is going away. So the main obstacle of 3D incarnation is to overcome your self-devaluation. The main goal of 3D is to awaken and live from your soul essence infinity. This is what I call living your soul desire. That's all it is. By the way, there's literally nothing more spiritually evolved than to live your greatest joy, to become aware of what your soul wanted to experience. We think the soul is, we're strumming harps on a cloud and that's your soul. That's not your soul. Your soul wants to live and experience and enjoy and experience adventure and happiness and love and all kinds of wonderful, passionate things. That's what the soul is. You've been lied to. Again, religion tells you that the soul strumming harps with angels, because if you think that way, then you start to gaslight yourself out of your passions and your desires. Because if you're a person on planet Earth and you don't have passions and desires, then I can tell you to just work your ass off, which is again carry your cross, be humble, don't have any, you're told that having desires is egotistical, so don't have any ego, be humble, meaning, just be a zombie and do what you're told. Carry your cross. Jesus loves you. Be like Jesus. Well, what had happened to Jesus? His dad told him to allow himself to be tortured and killed for something that other people supposedly did. What kind of person does that to another person? A psychopath, a lunatic.
So everything you've been told about spirituality is going to come crashing down on its head. The new higher dimensional reality, the first thing that I noticed about these higher dimensional beings is how intense their emotions were. Specifically the emotions of love and joy and happiness and adventure and humor. I mean, they laugh all the time. They're laughing, they're always, and they're extremely exuberant. You know, at your first experience, it's like too much. They're so happy, so incredibly, blissfully, orgasmically happy. It's the opposite of what we've been told. Again, strumming the harps on a cloud. No, they're partying it up. They love to have fun. They love dancing and singing and celebrating and making love. And they're the opposite of what we've been told. So the main goal is to awaken and live from that soul essence infinity. And so you come here and you have all this devaluation that tells you you're a worthless piece of garbage, just be a zombie. You know, you got to have money to be okay. You got to have all this stuff that tells you you're no good. You're only good based on what you do and what you have, right? That's what our reality tells us. And so the whole point of coming here was to learn the difference between that and your soul essence. This is a pressure cooker where you're forced to come to that conclusion eventually. If you stay here long enough, you will eventually come to that conclusion. And each lifetime you have, you've come here with a soul desire, which people call dharma. And then you've come here with obsessions that don't go anywhere, which people end up calling karma. In Vedic astrology, it's Rahu and Ketu. Rahu represents your obsessions, your earthly desires that will bring you no happiness. This is why Rahu is associated with obsession and addiction. And lust for money and power and all of that. So when you go after those things, you find out that they don't make you happy. So all of these horrifically psychopathic billionaires that are doing all kinds of horrible things, that's what's happening with them. They are chasing after and forcing themselves to go deeper and deeper into a karmic hell. And eventually their souls will go, okay, so that won't make me happy. Now, who knows if they'll have to go into a deeper hell before that happens, but that's all that hell is. There are some people that have near-death experiences and they go to a hell. Very few, very small percentage of people do that. But it's always wrapped up in their self-evaluation and realizing that the things that they wanted, that they thought were going to make them happy based on their fears, don't. And by the way, every single one of those people in near-death experiences that go to a hell, the moment that they stop focusing on the pain and the torture and they reach out to whatever they experience to be God, they're taken out of it immediately. Which is the opposite again of what religion tells you. Religion tells you if you go to hell, you stay there. There's no escape. What kind of universe does that? No, of course, that's absolutely ridiculous. So the single most important thing you can do in 3D life is to live selfishly. Selfishly. I know when you heard me say that, you went, what? I'm not supposed to be selfish. And you had to find a way to spiritualize it and say it in a way where you could tolerate it. Well, selfish in a way where I don't harm other people. True selfish actions never harm anybody. Because your true self is your soul. Your soul is connected to everybody. Your soul is light. Your soul is love. Your soul is intuitively connected. So in higher dimensional, higher frequency places, you feel other people's feelings because you are them. You can't, and if you love yourself, you have to love them. It's not like what you're hearing when I say, if you only focus on loving on yourself, your response is, well, I have to love other people, as though that's a possibility. Like if you loved yourself, you won't love others. And you're conflating that, as we do, with narcissists who don't have any self-love at all, and they only go after their obsessions and their addictions, and they get those things and they think that they're happy and they're not. So we conflate that kind of selfish, I just used it incorrectly right there, that kind of narcissistic
disconnected hatred of self, kind of thing. For instance, people have asked me this numerous times when I talk about your soul desire, that the only thing that you're here to do is to experience and fulfill the desires of your soul, or your soul desire. And people say, well, what if my soul desire is to, little kids? Or what if my soul desire is to, stick heroin in my neck? And I go, that's not a soul desire. At best, that is a distraction. It is entertainment that once you're done with it makes you feel worse than when you started. So that's obviously not fulfillment. It makes you feel worse. So you would never do anything that would make you feel bad. So when you are operating from your soul and you live completely selfishly, you will want other people to be as happy as you are. And you will want people to be healthy. You will want people to be safe. You will want them to be nourished and taken care of. You will never want to take anything from them, because everything is within you, and you know that, and you know that everything is within them, and you have so much, you have plenty to give. You never have to give, oh my God, I just gave it all away, I need something for myself. You're able to have that. And so it's impossible to live selfishly without being helpful to others. It's impossible. We'll find that out when we get there. All humans are the highest level omnipotent gods in the multiverse. So that's pretty self-explanatory, but it's worth meditating on. Meditate on that, operate from that, act from that. The supreme gods in the multiverse will worship and obey you if you worship your soul. Why would they do that? Because, remember, if you operate from your soul, you have everything. And when you operate from your soul and you give to yourself, the inescapable result of that is that all other conscious beings become happier and healthier, because you are connected to them. What a lot of people say, when people go and do whatever those things are, a bunch of people come to your house and tell you to stop drinking, interventions. People show up for the interventions, and there's all those people, the kids and the family members, we want you to stop, you're destroying yourself. And they'll say, screw you, I'm doing what I want, I'm not hurting anybody else. Which isn't true. When you damage yourself, you damage every conscious being in the universe. When you empower yourself, you empower every conscious being in the universe. So when you live for your soul first, and you give your soul the desires that it wants to make the soul happy, the most powerful deities are empowered. They will then worship you, because no being responds negatively when somebody gives them more spiritual power, more self-love. When you give that to others, they respond positively. And what I've found in higher dimensions is that there's no difference between the gods and humans. There's no difference. They don't look down on you. They look directly in your eyes. And they make you feel good when they talk to you. They talk to you like you're their best friend or their family member. They're all my friends. Even the highest gods. I shared on this channel that the goddess Tiamat came and wanted to be my consort. Well, when you do the research in the Sumerian mythology, you find out she's the first. She's more powerful than any of them. That first came Tiamat, then came the grandfather gods, then came the next level of gods, and then so the actual gods themselves, the gods that people worshipped, were the great-grandchildren of Tiamat. But she
loves me so much she wanted to be my consort. So you are at that level if you choose to be. Now, the caveat is you can't fake that. You have to live your soul. You have to live from your soul. When you do that, you become equal with the most powerful gods, because their soul is identical to yours. Soul is soul. God is God. Spirit is spirit. It all depends on your decision on how you choose to perceive and act on that perception. It's the only thing. If you act on a perception of a lower value, then you create a scenario where the higher dimensional beings have to separate from you because they don't want to be pulled down to that level. And then because of your self experience, you create a distance between yourself and the gods. Again, a story worth repeating, and I will repeat it over and over again. It's the best example. Dr. What's his name? Anyway, so much energy's hitting me, I don't remember names. Dr. Joe Dispenza. Maybe he's not a doctor. Joe Dispenza is doing a seminar on activating the pineal gland. He sees these light beings around the room, and he says to them, "Why don't you join us?" And they say, "We would love to, but if we come down to your frequency, we will be damaging ourselves. And we love ourselves too much to cause ourselves harm. However, if you raise your vibration up towards us, we'll meet you halfway." So if you're separated from the gods, it's because you've pulled yourself down from self-evaluation, negative self-interaction, believing that you aren't worthy, believing that you aren't loved. And by the way, all destructive behavior, even though the people think they're doing it to give themselves something, all destructive behavior comes from the belief that they aren't worthy. You know, way back, this is a long time ago, the LA riots. I lived through I literally picked my way home, from rehearsal in my theater picked my way home through the violence and the fires to get back home. And during those riots, the news was interviewing somebody, and they interviewed some guy who had gone in and looted a store, and they said, "Don't you feel bad about what you've done?" He says, "No, I got what I wanted. Nobody ever gives me anything." So he thinks he's stealing from somebody else to give to himself because he loves himself. But the truth is, he's operating from the assumption that he's not worthy to have anything. And so the only way he can get it is if he steals it from somebody else. So thieves don't believe they have any value. They don't believe the universe loves them. They don't believe the universe will provide and give to them. And that action, you think you're giving to yourself, when in reality you're taking from yourself. You're damaging yourself. Higher dimensional beings don't want to be around people who damage themselves. It's that simple. It has nothing to do with sin. The moment that you start giving to your soul, they want to be around you. So let's see, the gods will worship you. If you can expand into your 12 dimensions of consciousness, you will be a god. Okay, that takes a whole video, so I won't take the time on that. There are no rules and no limitations except the golden rule. What is the golden rule? It's one of the thing about the New Testament is that it took things that already existed, shoved it in there, and then gave it credit to a fictional character they created named Jesus. One of them is the golden rule. The golden rule is absolutely the truth, which is the only thing that matters, the only thing that's truly spiritual, is to treat others the way that you would want to be treated. That's it. That's the only law that exists. Once you do that, you can do literally anything you can imagine. There's no such thing as a sin. There's no such thing as bad selfish, as long as you're operating from your soul. And you are free to do anything. You want to go experience a lower level of reality, and you want to go and incarnate and be a mafioso and kill and destroy, you can go do that. And then when you're done, you can go back up to where you were. You'll have to pay some price for that, but you can do anything you want. You can do what you want and be happy and be the highest level deity. This is why in mythology, you have gods coming down and mating with humans and creating. There's no boundaries on what you can be and what you can do, as long as, like I said, two consenting adults. But I mean, you can do and be anything you can possibly imagine that gives you joy. And if you have fear that comes up that, but that's a bad thing. If it causes harm to somebody, then it's obviously not going to bring you joy. You're obviously coming from a place of insecurity. The reason why there are certain limitations on things you do with certain people, and age, things you don't go do certain things to people of certain ages, is because it would damage them. It would hurt them. So you never do anything that's hurtful to somebody else. It would never even, you want to be in the place where it never enters your mind. But if it does, you go, yep, but I can see that would be hurtful if I was on the other end of that. So I can't do that. That is the only rule in the cosmos. The only rule is the golden rule. You live in such a way where you do to others exactly what you would want them to do to you. And yeah, that's obvious. There is no final enlightenment. Everything in the multiverse is your game to play. Have fun. So again, let's get rid of this, this fake spirituality of enlightenment. This is nonsense. This is a 3D escape from uncomfortable feelings. You get to a place of nirvana where there is no conflict. That's zombie nonsense. What I've seen out there, there's no such thing as a final enlightenment. All there is just different levels. And when you get to a different level, which is, I would call a dimension, you end up having more power. But it's because you're in a higher dimension. But in terms of who you are, nothing really changes. You're still, every being that I've interacted with has treated me and has given me the impression that they're no different than I am, except for the dimension in which they exist. Which again, you talk about dimensions as a whole other video. So, just know that every being out there looks at you and sees the ultimate divinity within you. It's up to you to accept that within yourself. They can't do that for you. No matter how many times they tell you that you are God, no matter how many times they do that, you still have the ability to choose how you decide to view yourself. So it starts with making the decision to love yourself unconditionally and completely. And then make the decision to accept the belief, even though you don't feel it. It's not about how you feel about yourself. Make the decision to accept the belief that you are loved simply because you exist, and that the universe will provide everything you can possibly want and imagine. But you have to decide that you're worthy of it. And this will be challenging when this higher dimensional energy hits, because people who are filled with self-devaluation, they believe that their instinct tells them that self-devaluation keeps them alive, keeps them safe. And so to accept the love of the universe for many people will be very frightening and very painful. Because the biggest fear is the fear of being rejected. Everybody wants to be loved. What everybody wants more than anything
is to be unconditionally loved, accepted, and seen. And in order to be unconditionally loved and accepted and seen, you have to choose to accept that, which means you have to make yourself vulnerable. Vulnerable to others. Because in order to receive the energy, receive the love, you have to take your self-defense mechanisms and drop them. It's not like 3D where you have to walk around with your armor on all the time, because you never know when somebody's going to come and harm you. That's the third dimension. The fourth, the fifth, and above, that's not an issue. The only thing that you have to do is just choose to accept it. Your level of willingness to accept the love will determine what frequency you end up at. So I'm saying this again with the possibility within the next couple of days, this flash might come. If it does, if this big, huge event comes, and let me talk about this event. I don't know what the event's going to be. I have some ideas, but if it is a worldwide unmistakable event, then what will happen is there will be a wave of energy that hits us, and it will be unmistakable. So I'm pretty certain the final event hasn't come yet, because if you have to ask if it's come or not, it hasn't come, right? It's like, if you've never had an orgasm before and somebody says, did you have an orgasm? You go, I think so. They'll go, well, if you're not sure, then you didn't, because once you do, that's what this is going to be. It's going to be a big orgasmic shift, and you're going to know it when it gets here. So when it does get here, make the decision to accept the love. Make the decision to tolerate the fear, because there might be some fear. And fear is nothing more than, I'm afraid I'm going to fall in love and this person's going to hurt me. That's all it is. This is why we call it falling in love, because you feel like you're out of control. And people say when they're falling, they go, I'm scared, I'm really falling for you, because they're afraid they're going to get hurt. They're afraid they're going to fall in love and then feel it, and then it'll be taken away from them. That is everybody's deep, infantile, childish fear. So when this energy comes, choose to accept it and make the decision to focus on the highest, most beautiful reality or feeling, state of being that you can imagine. And imagine yourself there. Imagine yourself happy and blissful and without any fear. Even if you're feeling fear, imagine that you don't have any. Those are my suggestions. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. Those are my plans. That's what I'm going to do. And in fact, over the next few days, I'm going to spend time thinking about my true, deepest desires of where I want to live and what I want to be doing. And I'm going to accept the possibility that there will be an event that will shift me to that. And I will happily accept whatever that turns out to be, or not. Whatever it is whatever it's going to be. But I want to make sure that I'm doing my part. And my part is to surrender, to relax, and to participate in creating my greatest, most happy reality possible. So those are my suggestions to you. Again, it's now 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday, October 4th. So, I'll keep uploading videos until there's no need to, for however long that is, whether that's a couple of days or decades, I will. All right, that's it. See you guys next time.